Excellent. So, how are you doing?
Very good.
You guys ready to make some money?
Yes.
Yeah, all of you?
Yes.
That's good. So I just wanted to take a moment and, remind you what we did last week, and then we'll continue to support you with your weekly activities. So if you could turn to the last page of lesson 3. I just want to go over a few things. Now remember, you're supposed to use it as a checklist, and you should have went through your checklist prior to today's lesson. Probably the best time to do it is the night before, and then you do your stats, your page A6. And I think it starts with making sure you go to work, yes?
Yes.
I mean, 80% of success is just showing up, I guess. So it says go into your office or go to work a minimum of how many days?
5.
5. And you can work 6. I don't want you to work less than 5 to get the proper results from this course, no matter what level you're at. Fair enough? And then it says book a minimum of 3 listing appointments. So again, while you're looking at it right now, make sure you checked off things appropriately. So if you did work 5 days, it should have already been checked off. If you haven't checked it off, remember, I want to create good habits. Yes. So we're almost halfway through the course. Try not to resist what I'm trying to help you to accomplish with creating habits. I think that no matter what your production is like, there's a lot of things that you can do. Like you can check off something, can't you? Or you can put an X, meaning you didn't, or leave it blank, in this case, if you didn't finish it. But, the last thing we want is the things you can do to not do just maybe because your production is not quite there yet. But it'll come, as we can see with our stats, it's coming. So the second thing was book a minimum of 3 appointments. If you did that, check it off. And what was the next thing?
Keep track of your production.
Keep track of your production. Keep track of your production on page A7. That you want to keep doing every week because you actually hand that in to me at the end for graduation. And I'll keep reminding you every single week, and I'll keep checking in every second week to make sure you're using it. And the other one was to make sure you hand in page A6 before what time?
9:30.
So if any of you were here after 9:30, then you were late for your stats, okay? And there was one person, for example, that knew they'd be late, so they phoned in, and that's fine. Just don't make a habit of that, but still, we're doing pretty good. And the next thing on the list, what was that?
Add another 20.
Add another, how many?
25.
25 names. So when you've included this group of 25, how many do we have now?
75.
75 names. So check it off if you're doing the 25, and give yourself a pat on the back if you got 75 already, because that is probably the most important thing to do in the course for you in a way to be able to keep in touch with people, get referrals. Who likes referrals? Who would like somebody to call you and say, hey, I'm a friend of such and such, you sold them their house, or I'm just a friend of somebody that they told me you're a realtor, and they called and said, I want to sell my house, can you come by and talk to me about it? This is the key, right? This is the key, because the last week we talked about DMS marketing, for example, a marketing company that can help you to keep in touch with past clients, friends, and family, and that was the Mini-Mag newsletter. So hopefully some of you called Laura to get your artwork done, and you start sending it out to now 75 people. And that's in the mail, okay? What's next on the list for you?
Create a pre-listing brochure.
Yeah, the pre-listing brochure. Some of you just made, some handwritten stuff and put it up here. I just showed you how to fold it properly. Make sure you get that done as quick as possible. Either do it yourself or call Laura at DMS again. And they'll make it, and you really need to get those on. All these appointments that I've seen on your team, when you have 13 appointments, you wanted all of them to get the pre-list brochure before you go. 3 things happen. When you sell yourself and your company in advance, it creates consumer confidence. Your listing appointment will be easier. Who would like them to be easier? Like way easier. They don't ask you to cut your commissions as much when they see value as well. And did I say you get less cancellations?
Yes.
Right? And it's very powerful. And what's next on there?
Property ad in the newspaper online.
Yeah, so remember I told you all to put an ad on Kijiji? How many of you did that? Excellent, right? And if you did it the way I said, you might have got a response. If you keep it in, you will eventually get a response. And you could pick up a good qualified buyer, or you could get somebody that's maybe looking to buy, but they have to sell before they can buy. And you just convert that into a face-to-face, book the appointment, send your
Brochure.
pre-list brochure or your brochure in advance, and hey, more business, working less hours.
Yeah.
What's next on the list?
Print out.
Hello?
Reproduce your call form.
Yeah, so how many of you printed off 20 like I requested? Excellent, you have them on your desk, and you're using them for all your calls. Make sure that you have control over your phone, not your phone over you. So learn how to turn it off, or at least put it on silent, no notifications when you're on a listing appointment, when you're having dinner with your family, when you're busy with other stuff. Just check in, right? You won't miss anything, believe me. And you won't, I don't want you chasing stuff. Not that kind of stuff anyways. No email tag and somebody calls and doesn't leave a message and you're phoning somebody and they're like, hello, and you say, well, you just called here, and it's all awkward and weird and all this stuff. Just, hey, if it's important, they'll leave a message. Sounds good? Yeah.
Yes.
Have some control, especially create the habit of being in control even when you're new. Like we have a whole group of new people here. You want to, some people will say, well, maybe this applies when I'm busy. Well, if you don't start the habits now, you won't get, now busy isn't a really good word. I'm sure busy makes sense to a lot of us. You know, we always think the busier we are, the more money we make, which is sort of, if our business is busy, but not us, but our business is, that's great, because we want to have a business that's busy, right? What's next?
Schedule a minimum one day
One day
off.
off.
So if you took a day off, check it off, put up your hand so I know you did, okay? And so now it says work a minimum of 5, maximum of 6, never 7, and never 4, 3, 2, you know, so that type of thing. So you work 5 or 6 days. I hope you work about 5.5 while you're building your business. And we'll talk about that in a few lessons down the road. And what's next?
Listen to the lesson 3 audio at least 3 times.
Listen to the audio at least 3 times. If you did that, great, put up your hand. And next?
Follow on Facebook.
Yeah, follow us on Facebook, and what else do we have on there?
Completed tasks and print off.
Yeah, you completed your tasks, and then print off my brochure sample of the, on the website in case you didn't have time to put something together. You may have even called DMS to get them started, and you sent them all the stuff, and you don't see a proof yet, so I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it by printing off my sample even. Okay, that's the least you should have done. Sounds good?
Yes.
So, if you feel you're on track, great. You know, it's really important that you're following those weekly activities. I mean, you paid for the course. It doesn't make sense to pay for the course and fight it. Does it?
Nope.
I have had a few, I must admit, okay? So, so this week, or today, lesson 4, as you can see, we're gonna go over the sales psychology, the sales process, and more importantly, that whole thing ties into what we call the listing presentation to help you to get more properties on the market. And who would like that? You know, how many listings would you like to have on the market? Now, you want them to sell, so we're gonna talk about saleable listings, obviously. But I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have some inventory?
Yes.
But wouldn't it be nice to have maybe 10? And
Yes.
then they're selling, you know, some don't sell right away, some maybe take a month. And, you know, and then sometimes you get some offers, and remember, we're dealing with the other realtors that maybe some of them aren't trained, and some deals fall apart from financing and stuff, and there's not much you can do about it, so let's get it back on them. You have to get it back on the market, or reboost all of your marketing, or notify the neighbors and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, if you have 10 listings and you work really hard, you should be doing it in this course. Remember, we wanted to try to help you to get how many listings?
8.
As fast as possible, 8. 8 as fast as possible. So to get 8, you know, you'll get 8, but by the time you've gotten 8, 4 might have sold, or they should have sold, because next week we'll be talking about pricing. Now you're back to 4, and you're thinking, okay, Dwayne's saying I should be carrying 10. Yeah, so keep going, get as many listing appointments as possible. Next thing you know, you got 6 and 1 sells. Now you're back to 5. Then you get 2 more and you're at 7, but then 3 sell and you're at 4. And it's kind of a back and forth struggle to get regular inventory. You don't want to get a listing to stick with you. You want it to sell. So for building your business, you're going on way more appointments than you will once you've got the 10 listings. Like once you hit 10 and they're still selling and new ones are coming in, everything kind of settles down for you a bit. You get a rhythm. And that rhythm is 3 listing appointments a week. And you get 1, but you've got to go a little harder to get your inventory set up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The benefit of having listings is your phone rings more. Who would like your phone to ring more? You know, and what's the benefit of your phone ringing? Well, you don't have to wake up unemployed every single day, like a secret agent, and do door knocking and cold calling. You know, you just respond to the calls that are coming in because of your marketing, or because people are calling your yard signs. Isn't that great?
Yes.
Yeah, that's, and you've seen other, you know, it doesn't matter if you're new or you've been around for a little while, just driving around the city, certain neighborhoods you see the same realtor with 2 or 3 signs, And you know, if you were to not go back to that neighborhood for 6 months and went back, you'd see still 2 or 3 signs from that realtor, but on different houses.
Yeah.
And they may have 2 or 3 in another neighborhood as well, but they're usually their majority of their listings are in a certain area that they geofarm. So before we go to lesson 4 here, I want to mention a little bit about lesson 1, 2, and 3. Lesson 1, 2, and 3 are in just those 3 lessons are what brings us to lesson 4, 5, and 6. If they think about lesson 1, it's about giving yourself a checkup from the neck up every day, every hour, every minute, who knows, right? Constantly. And you want to make sure you have a great attitude, yes?
Yes.
And then I say, you know, just in the class, you know, lesson 2 and 3, they can almost be reversed when you're finished the program and you're just focused on marketing, but they have to stay this way in the class because lesson 2 was about booking a whole bunch of appointments, but being proactive.
Right.
Your marketing may not be in place yet, or for those of you that your marketing is in place, I ask you to just still reach out and talk to more people, maybe your sphere of contacts database, whatever it takes. So we're being really proactive, booking more appointments. And then, no matter what level you're at in your career, you realize that if I can get my phone to ring more, that would be a blessing. I mean, to call a bunch of people that I don't know or they don't know me, you get a lot of rejection. To door knock, same thing. It doesn't mean you won't do it again in the future. It just means that in lesson 3, I wanted to teach you how to get your phone to ring. So let's just talk about that for a second, because in lesson 2, proactive was what? Get involved in the community, right? And what was another thing? Next was, I think, door knock, yes?
Yes.
And then do an open house, right? And then another one was target some FSBOs or, you know, something like that. And then the last one was warm call your sphere of contacts, and maybe even door knock or call neighbor to your listings, and neighbor to them when they sell, neighbor to sales, and maybe even contact people for the open houses. So that's a lot of work, proactive, but are you motivated to either kickstart your career or go to the next level in your career? Are you? Yes?
Yes.
So then you say, okay, I'm going to do it. I had a few calls this week from a few of you, you know, you say I'm going to do an open house and I got a buyer I'm working with, how does that work, you know, just to confirm, and that's all good, right? But then in lesson 3 last week, I said, we still need to have it, for the new people, at least get it on your radar, in your mind, that I got to get my phone ringing. And for those of you being around a bit, you got to put a little more money into your marketing so that your phone rings more. You'll last in this business. If your phone's ringing and you're getting listings, you'll last. And you'll make probably between $200,000 and $400,000 a year. Who could use that kind of change? You know, that's good money, yes? $200,000 to $400,000?
Yes.
And working less than 40 hours a week. You gotta focus on those listings, right? So I think it said there was 6 ways to get your phone to ring and or get contacts coming to you in your inbox. And number 1, I believe, was when we have inventory, as we have inventory, we're always advertising our listings. And you came up with a listing checklist last week. You know, put it on MLS, put a good signage, and all these different things. You made a nice list so that as soon as you get a listing, you're going to do all 10 of those things. Because it could not only sell the property, but it could attract some more leads for you. Again, coming to you, right? Your yard sign is very powerful. If you have enough yard signs, your phone will ring because people want to see the properties, right? And then the second one was target market, which was to send a just listed postcard around every listing. So I had a few people call me about that last week. I don't know if it was from this class, but I have a lot of coaching clients too right now. And then the third thing was geofarm area. So I have a guy I'm coaching right now, and another guy, and he was doing pay-per-clicks, and it got him to a certain amount. It took him a couple of years before he was in coaching. And he got up to about $120,000 a year with pay-per-clicks. But first thing he said is, you know, it's a little bit tiring to always phone people that don't really know who I am, or they forget they filled out a form online and you got to talk to them. And, you know, he says, so I can't get past 120 and I'm working pretty hard at it. And I said, well, what you got to do is get your phone to ring. As opposed to getting just in your inbox, you got to get your phone to ring. And I taught him what I taught you folks. I says, send out some postcards, right? And then get some bus benches. So when I was just on with him yesterday, he's sending out 8,000 postcards a month. It was interesting too, because when we got on our Zoom meeting, we do it face-to-face for my coaching, he says, have you heard of Peter D. Schilling? And it's not in this city, so you might not recognize that name, but this guy's a big producer in Edmonton, on the south side of the city especially. And I said, oh yeah, I've met him a few times. I said, why? He says, well, I bumped into him the other day and I was asking questions about it. It's almost like, I wasn't sure if he didn't believe me what I taught because he was checking with this other producer how he gets so much production. And Peter's always had a lot of bus benches and sent out a lot of postcards for many, many years. And then so this fellow says to me, he goes, he does exactly what you said. And I said, yeah, and he does about $500,000 a year in production. Half away.
Million.
Yeah, and for quite a few years, for a couple decades. And my coaching client almost said to me, he says, so I really got to get this going, because he was going to put it on hold for a bit because he saw the prices of stuff, right? He went, oh, it's going to cost me. I said, well, that's what it is. You got to invest in your business. And then when he talked to Peter also, not this Peter, the other Peter, and then he was convinced. And I said something, and he goes, no, it wasn't that I didn't believe you. He said, I was just kind of on the fence because of the budget, but then once I heard this, I realized you said it, he said it, I really got to do it.
Yes.
So how many people do you need to tell you before you do it? If you need to hear from somebody else other than me, then go reach out to a top producer, but they'll say it. They'll go, yeah, I mean, now this guy's getting 6 bus benches. He only had 3 at first. He's getting 6 because he has the money in his budget. He just acted like he didn't. And instead of sending out 1,000, he's sending out 8,000. He says, I got to get on this. I said, yeah. And you watch, by this time next year, he'll be at $400,000 and he'll be actually working with less buyers and have a whole bunch of inventory. And you could too. It's really just up to you, isn't that right?
Yes.
Because I mean, if you're looking for another answer, remember I said I'm only teaching you the best way to do real estate. That's it. Pay-per-clicks, there's nothing wrong with them, or social media stuff and all, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't get past a certain income with the amount of work you got to do with those, right? All right, so, and then what was next? Did I say what, 4 now, or 3? I said there was advertise, target marketing, geofarm area. Do you remember what the 4th one was for getting your phone to ring or getting leads? Do you remember? If somebody can remember, because my mind went blank. So there's 6. Past clients. So the first 4 out of the 6, the first 4 have nothing to do with the internet that we taught last week, right? It's there's some internet stuff on your advertising, but yard signs and stuff, office notification, all this stuff for your listings. Then there was postcards in the mail for target marketing. Then there was postcards and outdoor advertising for your geofarm area. Then there's a newsletter in the mail for your past clients. Have I said anything yet about social media or much more about the internet? No. And number 5 was the internet. That's where you should have a website. And number 6 was social media. You should do all of them while you're building your business. And then once your business is built, that means once you have over 10 listings and they're selling and new ones are coming in, then you can pull back on some of your online marketing because it's a little harder to convert than if somebody calls you, yes? Wouldn't it be nice to just come in your office and check and you got a couple messages every day about people who want to buy or sell? You just convert that into face-to-face meeting and take the rest of the day off. But how many hours do you have to work when you're doing it the way we're mentioning? I only work 30 hours a week. I can't think of it. I was talking to one other coaching client and she had a really good week. But one of the things we were talking about was she's just working too much. And I said, so she said, I work 7 days. And I said, well, you're supposed to have a day off and this and that. And I said, with the production you got, did it take up 6 days? She goes, no, I probably got all that done in about 3 or 4. The rest of the time I was just putzing around the office doing this or that. And I said, no, you're at a point where you should be just working 3 days a week, making $400,000. I said, you're being counterproductive now. If you keep working when you don't have to, at some point you'll either burn out or you just become counterproductive. So who wants to lose money by working more? You don't have to in this business. But you got to get set up properly, isn't that right?
Yes.
So as I mentioned, this is a pretty important lesson today. There's a good chance that today's lesson will be the most valuable for you based on you doing the first 3 lessons right. We got 13 listing appointments, the other team's got 3, that's 16 listing appointments, just with a small group. Wouldn't it be a shame to continue to get appointments? And you have some inventory on team A, team B, but wouldn't it be a shame if we couldn't get 75–80% of the listings off our appointments just because we weren't doing it right? So really pay attention to today's lesson. We do a lot of workshopping, so you're going to be role playing with the person across the table from you a lot today. Okay, so get ready for that. So just remember those rules of the game again, of our program, right? Number one was stats must be turned in by what time again?
9:30.
Yeah, and you know, there's a little more flexibility. We don't have any sponsors getting up and talking. But instead of us saying, oh, I'll be okay if I show up at 1:45 and everybody's just sitting there waiting for you, either call in your stats or get here at 20 after. I mean, we had a little bit of a weather issue last week, but I mean, going forward, it might be okay. You know, 4 more weeks after this. Then the second thing was you got to book at least 3 appointments. If you're the captain's notice on your page, if it shows you booked less than 3, there'll be an end on the bottom for incomplete assignment. We're not going to be too picky on some of the other things, but that one we will be. And then if you can't get 3 going forward, I'm going to show you how you can get a little bit of extra help from me. Actually, I'll do that right away, okay? And also, of course, if you did not also complete some of your other assignments, you could get a penalty as well. But that's only to see if you're starting to have trouble that I can step up and maybe offer to help you more, as I mentioned. So if you have 3 strikes, and you can go turn to page A6 and see if you have 3 ends. I would say most of you, except just a few, probably have that, and that's normal. In a small class or a big class, majority of the people have 3 by today, by lesson 4. And if you do, then turn to page A8 right now. And I mentioned to you, page A8, we bring up in lesson 4. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do is, if you could just show me your page A8, I just want to read it to you folks. I'll just give me yours there, that's fine, thank you. All right, so this page here, it looks like this, is sure, it's supposed to keep you very accountable, which is not the easiest thing. But the reward, I guess, for being accountable to yourself is that we're going to see if you can be accountable to the team, to the class, but to yourself. And because of that, the reward is they'll help you more if you want. Okay, so it says, dear student, as you know, a strike system was put in place to help you to what? Increase your income, right there. See that?
Yes.
All right, since you have received 3 strikes, you need to fill out this page right here. Hand it in to the trainer. You need to get your team members to sign to show they support you, okay? Don't do it while we're teaching, do it at the break. We'll take a break in a little while. And that way they're showing their support. And you might want to indicate the reason for strike. Somewhere on there you might just put that, you know, you haven't been able to book your 3 listening appointments or something like that. And once it's been handed in to me, I'll be able to help you. We may have a chat at lunch, we may have a chat after class, we may talk on the phone before next week or something like that, okay? And then all strikes are removed once you fill out this little letter. So if you have 3 strikes, you know, you got to put your name on there. If your broker, if Peter's is your broker, get him to sign. Everybody in your team then sign it. And see where it says strike letter up top here? Right to the right, can you just put your name? Because there should be a spot for a name there, but it's not there, okay?
Okay.
And so you'll hand that in to me at the break, but don't get it filled out right now, because we want to get into some of the training here, okay, gang? Just remember, I'm trying to remove the option to fail. I mean, when we fail, we need to learn from our mistakes. So let me help you with that as well. Sounds good?
Yes.
Okay, so let's take control and admit that this will be our best week ever, hey? Yes, best week ever?
Yeah.
All right, so let's see what I have here. What's the 4th key to success, gang? Do you remember? Anybody know? By the way, I put it on the screen.
Presentation.
All right. The 4th key to success is presentations. First thing I want to talk about is the sales psychology, the thinking of a salesperson and the thinking of sellers. But just remember, again, from the previous lesson, the solutions that I gave you to not having to make cold calls, not having to worry about the do not call list, not have to worry about anti-spam legislation, not have to worry about any door knocking regulations coming up. And the secret to that is to use some of those companies to get your phone ring. So now that we've got our phone ringing, we're going to use our call form for everything. We follow our prospect and track and call form. It depends how you have to deal with the client. And we bonify our appointments. So remember, our appointments are bona fide. Our bona fide appointment checklist is right on the what?
Wall.
Prospecting track. And the close was right here. So you're able to get your appointments, thank you. You're able to get your appointments. You send your pre-list brochure. And then you're going to get your folder prepared. So we're going to talk about what you put in your folder. Your listing presentation, I'm going to show you how to put that together today as well. But before we do that, let me just talk about the sales psychology. So the salesperson here, you can see that just highlighted there for you. The salesperson has to have a certain kind of mindset. You have to have the mindset, if you go on an appointment, you're going to say, I'm going to take this listing if I choose. So if the sellers give you a saleable listing to market and help them to move forward with their plans, you'd probably want to take it, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
If the sellers are not interested in any, like timing, they're not interested in timing, they just want to get a certain amount of money that is unrealistic, and it's a little iffy on how they want to pay you, and they're only giving you a little bit of time, you shouldn't take it, but that should be your choice, yes?
Yes.
So you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. So with them, you want to make sure with the sellers that they're willing to listen to what you have to say. Because if they're not willing to, remember rule of thumb number 1 from lesson 1? Never ever talk to inattention. So if they're not willing to listen to you, first of all, they may not let you come over so you're done with them. Make sense? Don't give any information out over the phone. Don't email anything. Don't text anything. Just, you book your appointment. If they want some info, you say, we have to get together. I would see your house. I haven't seen your house yet, and we got to talk about your plans. So we're all past that from lesson 1, 2, and 3, yes?
Yes.
So now we've got the appointment. Remember, they've got our pre-list brochure. Talks about you and your company, and let's just assume they've read it. So they start thinking, when you come over, I want to listen to what they have to say. They've even said it, the husband and wife, I want to hear what they have to say. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And you're going in, and if I can sell this for them, if I can help them, you got to remember, you may even have one that's a saleable listing, but these people are verbally abusive. Maybe they're not nice to you. Maybe you may even turn it down just because of that. You want to make sure you're just dealing with people that you like, people that treat you with respect and trust you as a professional, and it's a saleable listing. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, so this psychology is very important. And the whole thing for you is to make sure you sell yourself. And it's pretty well selling yourself in advance and first. So think about this for a second. If you pick a geofarm area, let's say you pick Happy Hills, just throwing out a name here. Happy Hills has 5,000 homes. And you've been sending out a postcard for a year, every month. And maybe you got some business along the way, but let's just say somebody's been seeing your postcard for a year. They never called you before because they didn't need to sell. They also seen a bus bench driving home or two. They even seen a couple of your signs. Now they need to sell, and they got one of your postcards. There's a bit of consumer confidence built up already, would you agree? They haven't even met yet, but they know who you are, and they even have some confidence in you because of what they've seen. So you're selling yourself in advance or first. Then when you talk to them on the phone, you sound like a very professional realtor, because you're using the prospecting track of the call form and you're gathering the proper information, right? And you can see how this will sell you, yes?
Yes.
Then you send your brochure. Because you haven't even met them yet, you haven't even seen their house. How much do they know about you, and how confident are they already about you? And what are the chances of them probably not even ask you to do it for less, like to cut your commissions? And they haven't even seen your marketing plan yet, which is just through the roof. You're going to do everything, aren't you?
Yes.
That's what we talked about last week, and we're going to talk about it again this week. So you got the marketing the area, they've heard all about you or seen all about you, then you got they talk to you, then they got the pre-list, and then you're going to pull up in front of the house, and I'm going to tell you what to do after we finish with this. Fair enough? Because we have to have a certain attitude going in. We have to make sure they're going to listen to what we have to say. They already feel that you seem like a good person or you seem like a professional. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. So while you're on the appointment, I have a 7-step sales process that you're going to go over with them. And then while you're doing that, you really are searching for a problem. You're going to be looking for a problem. The problem could be timing. Somebody that says, we want to sell our home, and you find out that they need to be in another place by a certain day. So when we say a problem, that means it has to be a certain timeline, or maybe a certain amount of money they need, or maybe it could be some convenience thing where they need to be out of this house and into the next one the same day. Could be something like that, but you find it, and you don't deal with it. I'll teach you how to deal with it. You deal with it to get the signature, because they start to look at it like, well, I never looked at it that way. You'll be amazed at how many people think they have a whole bunch of time before they move into their new house, and it's only 6 weeks away or something. And they're really running out of time. Would you agree?
Yes.
You know? So once we have the problem, when we solve the problem, they start to feel like, okay, if we don't follow what you're saying, we could lose some money or lose time. So you can put time in there as well. So can you see how the mind of the realtor is different than the mind of the seller, and we have to get the seller to be on board with us?
Yes.
You know, the last thing you need is to go on an appointment and you're talking about how to get things done properly, and they're just sitting there with their arms crossed, and really they're not listening. And you're talking to inattention. You have to get them to uncross their arms realistically. I mean, that's a visible way of them saying they're not listening, in my opinion. And get them to lean into the conversation and participate. So when you have built up some value by offering a solution to a problem, they start realizing they don't want to lose any money, and they pretty well better listen to you. It's in their best interest. So then you try to get a yes or a no about moving forward with them. At this point, you want to also make sure they feel safe on making a decision. Isn't that right? And the best thing you could get, gang, is a yes or a no right at the appointment. Yes, we're ready to sign. Where do I sign? You're directing the signature. Or no, we're not going to use you. Why is a no good? It's better than a maybe that never materializes. So write that down. Right? A yes or a no. And a no is better than a maybe that never materializes. Because doesn't that drive you crazy when they say maybe, 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 and then gets dragged out for a month and they just end up listening to somebody else anyways? I'd rather them just tell me right up front, I'm not listening with you. It's better than a what?
Maybe.
A maybe that never materializes. Exactly, right, gang? Okay, so what should you bring on your listing appointment? What do you think you should bring with you? What do you need to take with you? You need to take yourself and what else?
A listing presentation.
So you got your listing book or a listing presentation on your computer, or a book, or both. I would recommend you have both ready and take both. And then when you get to the kitchen table, I'm going to teach you how to do that. You'll ask them, which would you prefer I use, a computer or the book? Okay? What else should you bring with you? What do you think?
Listing contract.
Yeah, so you're going to have a folder. And in the folder is going to be some documents, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to bring that. So on the left side of your manual, that blank page, let's tell you what you're going to put into your folder. Let me just check something here. Yeah, we might do it twice today, but I'd like to make sure that we've got you know what to put in the folder. But let's go to that a little later. What I'd like to do is just say, what do we bring with us? So we know we got to bring our listing book or our computer. We got to bring a folder with